Welcome to Eat Well, Travel Often, a podcast about food, travel, the environment, mind, body, and spirit. I'm Melissa Goldberg, and over the course of my adult life, I've been focused on how to build an integrated community around food, health, wellness, and the environment. These are all related. Understanding these interrelationships helps us look at life as a holistic system and teaches us how to connect with each other to create a loving and thriving community. On Eat Well, Travel Often, I talk to farmers, foragers, cookbook authors, doctors, scientists, and entrepreneurs. All have one thing in common. The people I speak with are trying to better everyone's lives through their work and passion. These are the people who inspire me to be a better person. I hope to share with you my curiosity from everything from book to plate. And the goal of these conversations are to inspire you to eat well and travel often. More than 26 million Americans have now filed for unemployment in the 5 weeks since the coronavirus outbreak began forcing millions of businesses to close their doors. The unemployment rate is pushing toward 15%. This pandemic could plunge New York City into the worst economic crisis since the 1970s, costing the city 470,000 jobs and nearly $10 billion in revenue. But with all these losses, there is still some businesses that are hiring and new jobs are being created. But how do you get these jobs? Today, I'm speaking with Jessica Johnson and Reggie Bryant. Jessica currently works for the New York City Department of Corrections and Reggie for a workforce development company. These two have never met, but together are helping local New Yorkers find jobs via a Facebook group that Jessica started in 2011 called Jobs in NYC. The group has over 150,000 members. In the past 5 weeks, they have placed over 60 people in jobs throughout New York City while holding down their day jobs. We are all facing massive dislocations in our life, and what Reggie and Jessica are doing is a bright light of hope in a dark time.
Good morning, Reggie and Jessica. How are you guys?
Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you for joining me today. So, Reggie, you work for DB Grand Associates. It's a woman-owned, privately held company, one of the largest workplace development organizations in North America. Can you tell me what you do for them?
Yeah, currently I'm a corporate strategic ops manager. Basically, I support multiple programs in regards to kind of the strat ops team basically does what needs to be done. If there's any kind of support that needs to be provided, we do that. So that could look like training, coaching, developing processes, streamlining certain processes. If something's not working right, then we figure out why it isn't working right and we fix it. And I'm also somewhat of a Salesforce architect as well. So we do a lot of customization with Salesforce and, just kind of tweak those processes as well in there and kind of roll them out to the staff. So we do a lot of training in that. And then anywhere the team needs support, we try to develop the skill set to be able to provide that support. Right. And so essentially we have to be kind of a subject matter expert in just about every role and know how that role operates. Right. So that way we can, if there's any issues that come about, then we know how to fix it and we can do it fairly quickly. We also do policies and communicate with the funders and everything. But we're basically like kind of the right-hand person of the directors of the programs to assist them. Especially in times of crisis like this, we're the ones that are typically kind of the calm ones and we kind of get things done. So that's about it in a nutshell.
And Jessica, you work for the Department of Corrections in New York City as a program specialist. What does that mean? Like, what do you do?
Okay, well, program specialists, they have like a lot of positions throughout the agency. But specifically, what I do is I assist the talk commander. The talk commander is a warden level 1. They report anything that happens in our facility. So we have about 10 facilities. Well, now it's probably down to 8 because they've been closing a few on the island. But the building that I work for, whatever happens in that building, inmate on staff, altercation, staff on staff, staff on inmate, whatever issue happens, it needs to be reported. So if you've ever seen like pictures or a news report, anything on the news, and that's, that situation happened in my jail, that incident happened in my jail, it probably came from the investigations that my warden did, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. So, so you both have 2 different jobs and they don't really overlap. So how did you guys meet?
Well, I started the job group in 2011, and I was pretty much running it by myself. And I think I probably had maybe like 50, 60 people. And then a couple of years later, it turned into like 10,000. So it became very overwhelming. I am a single mom, and at the time I was working and going to school full time. So I needed help. I had a friend from high school who was also, same thing, single mom. We were both going to school, working full time. And I just needed assistance. So I just asked members in the group if they had any HR experience, or if they, had time to assist me with approving posts and, approving the members in the post, in the group. And, I got a bunch of responses, but Reggie kind of stood out. He's the only loyal one that's still been here that's been helping me out. And we've never met. Right, Reggie? So we've never met. We've had phone conversations. So, That's
well, can you tell me, so you started this Facebook group, Jobs in New York, in 2011. Can you tell me about the group and why you started it?
Okay, so in 2009, it was just like random. I was pregnant with my youngest son, and one of my best friends was also pregnant, but she was still, I guess she was pretty much still job hunting, so that when she did have her daughter, she would, go back into the work field. So she started taking civil service exams for the city. And I really didn't want to work for the city. Like, I wanted to be a little bit more independent, and the city jobs are like pretty much 9 to 5. I didn't want anything to do with that. But she wanted me to go with her to take the test because she didn't want to go by herself. She felt weird going because she had a belly. I'm like, well, I have a belly, but and I had my son probably like 2 weeks after I took the exam. So that was in 2009. In 2011, recession, they began laying off people. At the time I was working for the blood center, the New York City Blood Center, where you donate blood. And I was working in the training department, and we actually took our courses from instructor-led to online. So they really didn't need me anymore. So I was about to get laid off. And the craziest thing is someone from HR who's a good friend of mine actually told me, he told me that, that I was probably going to be on the next wave of layoffs. And I was panicking. I didn't know what to do. I got home that same same evening, looked at my mailbox, and I had a letter from, New York City Department of Civil Service to come and, take the next step with this test that I took in 2009. And the position was eligibility specialist. So I, was at the time, I used to share a lot on Facebook. Before it was a little bit safer 10 years ago to share whatever. So I let everybody know, like, hey, I got this job with the city, yada, yada. I'm so excited. I'm blessed because I was about to get laid off, yada, yada. So everyone wanted to know, like, how did you do that? And I'm like, DCAS. No one knew what DCAS was. No, not enough people. No one really knew how.
So what does that mean?
I'm sorry. DCAS is, what is it? Department of City Administrative Services. So pretty much that's the department that handles all the civil service exams to work for the city. So, or for some positions, not all, for some positions, for the civil service positions, you have to take an exam. You pay a fee, it can be anywhere from $30 to like $70, depending on, if you're just starting with the city, if you're taking a promotional exam. And, no one really knew about this. I mean, they knew about city jobs, but they didn't really know the process. And I'm like, okay, it took me 2 years to get it, but the blessing is that it came on time. So trying to explain it to everyone, everyone's asking me questions, inboxing me. So I said, you know what, I'm just gonna, make a separate group, and then we can all discuss it there. So that's how it started. Just a few of my friends from high school, from college, everyone, a lot of people were unemployed, a lot of people were looking for work. So I just told them what to do. Go on DCAS whenever there is a position that you feel you qualify for, apply for the exam, take the exam, and go from there. It may take 2 years, it may take 10 years. My son's father, he took the test to become a conductor for transit in 2008 when we first started dating, and he just started working it 2 years ago.
Wow.
So, yeah. So sometimes it takes a very long time. The city, as we all know, is very late with everything. However, they will get back to you eventually. So, so then I started the group, and next thing you know, people were referring other friends, and I used to help people with their resumes and how I got that experience. I, as a teenager, I had this program that I used to go to, the after-school program called PAVE, Progressive Adolescent Vocational Exploration, in Bed-Stuy, where I live. And they gave us, it was like a job readiness program. They gave you a $50 stipend a month, and they showed you how to get prepared for a job. We toured a lot of sites. We toured construction sites. We even got a tour of Brooklyn House, Department of Correction. We even got a tour of that. We got a tour of Department of Labor, and they showed us how, processes work, how you should act in an interview, things you should say, pointers you should take, which I'm sure they're very outdated, but, it was a good start, and it was good enough for me to assist my friends. So I've had friends.
Go ahead, keep going.
I have friends who now work for the Department of Correction, work for the Department of Health, work for the Department of Homeless Services, work for transit, work for the police department now. Have a lot of friends who, actually took the exam and then hit me up like 3 years later, like, remember that exam you told me to take? I took it. Guess what? I'm starting this job, and it's a lot more secure. And that was, at that time, that's what everyone was looking for. Like, just job security.
That's amazing. So in New York State right now, it has the most coronavirus cases and deaths anywhere. It has has experienced the most job losses. It's I think it estimates that at least 1 in 10 New Yorkers are now out of work. Reggie or Jessica, can you talk about the impact of losing a job and the individual band? Like, what are you seeing and what are you hearing from the impacts that are going on?
Reggie, you want to touch on that, or you want me to start off?
Yeah, sure. At the beginning of this crisis, as I was looking into the group, I saw that there was a lot of panic going on. I kind of really jumped in to see what the best way to help individuals in the group would be. So number one, what we started to notice is a lot of people were applying for unemployment. A lot of people were trying to get their stimulus checks, a lot of questions around that. There was a lot of panic because people could not get through on the unemployment line, or they applied the wrong way, or they didn't fill out the application and they were asking questions. And you could sense there was like a level of desperation that was there. And so the group has kind of transformed into this community of mutual aid and support for one another to answer some of those questions that otherwise would not get answered because they weren't able to get in contact with a live human being through the phone number that they were trying to call for the Department of Labor, right? So it, in a sense, it just put people at ease to be able to get some kind of feedback or to know that, hey, I'm not the only one going through this, right? Other people are not getting a response, right? So I think the group has kind of transitioned that way a little bit, as well as, there was still a huge need for those that still wanted to, right? And so how could I assist those that wanted to get back to work in this time of crisis and actually wanted to work at these hospitals? So what I did was I began using the connections that we've had with the company that I work with. We are having difficulty filling some of those opportunities with the customer base that we have. And so what I did was, okay, so let's try to keep the staffing agencies that we currently work with afloat, right, and feed them people as well as help people in the group. And so I started posting jobs in the group and then sending resumes to some of these employers that we had relationships with. And that worked out really well. We got a lot of people hired. I received well over 300 resumes and somewhere around 60 to 70 people hired so far during that time. Of course, I have a normal job that I have to do, so I had to take a step back from that and really commit back to my strategic operations job. But nonetheless, we're still assisting those individuals. But more so what we're seeing is that people are applying for the unemployment. People are getting their stimulus checks, right? And more, you're starting to see people that are wanting to come back into the workforce, right? There was a lot of fear, and we're starting to see that fear subside a little bit. And people are like, you know what? Yeah, I'll go to the hospital. I'll do these positions. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of interesting to see the whole transition, as well as everything is becoming virtual, right? The way that we recruit is virtual. So you're seeing this huge explosion of Zoom and all these other digital platforms that otherwise people were, intimidated to use, right? And people have to start developing these skills on how to use these platforms. So we're seeing that transition. How do we conduct online recruitment, right? How do we conduct recruitment virtually and Zoom? What's the best way to do this, right? When not everybody has the technology at home, right? Not everybody may have a smartphone that has a camera, right? And some individuals may live in a shelter, so they may not want to have their circumstance on video. You see what I'm saying? And so it's like, how do we not exclude a demographic, right, but include everybody into the recruitment process that actually really wants to work and find employment? So it's just figuring out how that looks. And I think that's the transition everybody's just trying to kind of get adjusted to. But it's been very interesting nonetheless. Yeah.
The group has over 150,000 members. How did all these people find this group?
We have no idea. I'm not sure. Like, I really don't know the algorithm of Facebook and how it works. I really don't know. There was a boost one year. I want to say maybe like 2013. And they're not only from like the tri-state area, they're from like different countries. And that's why, I don't know if you've been able to like go inside the group. That's why we have it private, and you have to like fill out a questionnaire before you enter, because we had a lot of spam, a whole lot of spam in the group, and it was making it difficult to, maintain. Like Reggie said, we both have our day jobs. So I really don't know how it got like that. I just know that if I say I'm at like McDonald's or something, and, I have, what can you say? I have a smart mouth. So if there's a cashier, she has an attitude about something, and I'm like, I was like, you don't like this job, do you? She's like, looking at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, well, I have a group on Facebook. It's called Jobs in NYC. You should check it out. If you don't want to work here, you can work in other places. But, anybody I speak to, and anyone who ever says like, they need help, or they need, they're looking for something else, I just tell them to join the group.
How does an employer find or list a job on your Facebook page? And how do you connect people with jobs and employers? And
It's pretty much been word of mouth, but when an employer does come onto the page, they post it, and then they wait for either me or Reggie or one of the moderators to read it and approve it. So we want the employers to be as detailed as possible. Like, okay, I have this job as an administrative assistant in this office in Brooklyn. You know, if you don't want to put the salary, that's fine. You know, if the company has a website, we encourage a website. We try not to, well, when we first started, I didn't really like the, oh, you know, I have a job for you guys, inbox me. I want everybody to be, you know, I want everyone to know what's going on. Talk about the job in the group so that you're not repeating yourself 100 times if 100 people inbox you. So, yeah, so they pretty much, they post the position. I tell them to be as detailed as possible, exactly what you're looking for, what the hours are, if you know. I know there's some temp agencies, they can't really reveal what company is hiring. So we, you know, give respect to that. If we have some members who are being rude or disrespectful in any way, they're immediately blocked. So yeah, that's pretty much how it's done. But for them to know about the group, like I said, anybody that I meet and we end up talking about jobs or they want to know what I do, I tell them I work on Rikers Island and I have this group. And I just, you know, keep it going. Tell your friends, tell your kids, and yeah.
What kind of jobs are listed?
Oh, everything. Everything from janitor to babysitter, which I'm not really, I really try not to post the babysitting jobs because I feel like that should be done on a more professional level through, you know, a website that can, you know, handle those things, that can do background information. Because my biggest fear is for someone to go for an interview or go for a job, or, you know, the employer or whoever's hiring, you know, to experience someone that's crazy. So I really don't like posting those, but what I would do is say, okay, I won't allow the employer to post it. So I don't want them to come on and say, I don't want a parent to come on and say, okay, I'm looking for a babysitter to, you know, babysit my kid. I'd rather the job seeker put their information on, like, hi, this is my name. I have this much experience in babysitting. Here's my resume. Here are my references. I like to do it that way instead. So at least you have a little bit more leverage. It's, you know, it's a little bit more foolproof. Yeah, the employers, they can post at any time. I know a lot of them. Oh, then we have the what do you call those things, Reggie? The MLMs, the multi-level marketing. We don't approve those, like those pyramid schemes. We don't do that. Once in a while, maybe I'll approve. What is that? I lost my thought. Cash only. I don't like doing that. I prefer it to be like a legit company. That way, you know, we can track you if anything happens.
Some people who are listening may be wondering, do any of the administrators make any money from off of these jobs, or is this just a volunteer thing that you have out there and you've just been helping people out?
It's strictly volunteering. Strictly. I'm completely against it. If someone says, I can help build your resume for $30, I do not approve it. I don't. I'm completely against it. These people are looking for jobs, and, you know, the economy is crazy. Like, no one who's looking for a job should be paying for it, even if you already have one. I don't know. If I can offer my help, like, my job is really, really busy. Like, I'm not home. I get to work at 9 a.m. I don't leave until 11 p.m., sometimes 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So I don't always have time to check, but I tell the moderators all the time, do not post those resumes. Do not post those resumes. You know, I can charge you X, Y, and Z. I'm completely against it. Not doing it.
Yeah, and if I can just jump in real quick, shout out to everybody that moderates the group. the admins of the group. We all do this because it is intrinsic, right? I've been on with Jessica, I think, since 2013, off and on, because when I transfer to a new role, then that takes up a lot of my time, and then I get back on. But we definitely, nobody from the moderators or admins gets paid for doing what we do. You know what I mean? We do it because we want to. And a lot of the moderators in the group really find great information. This group is a platform where people can find information that they probably would have a difficult time finding anywhere else. You know what I mean? Right. So it's definitely a huge source for valuable resources.
Absolutely.
What type of jobs have you been seeing? And New York has been on lockdown for over 5 weeks. What changes have you seen in the group, and what type of jobs?
Well, I've seen a lot of retail jobs because the supermarkets are still open. So BJ's, Target, I'm assuming these employees are being tested positive or going out, or just going out, due to fear of catching it and, affecting their families, so they're not there. But I've seen a lot of retail jobs. And Reggie, what have you been seeing, or what have you been interviewing for?
So recently, right now, throughout the transition, there's a lot of security opportunities. They were creating the makeshift hospitals and some of these hotels, right? Also the hallway monitor positions, where you're just kind of like in the hallway of a hotel and you're just sitting there. And one of the individuals that we got hired for this position, she was saying that, all they do is sit there. If the patient comes outside of the room, and they need assistance or anything like that, they advise them to go back in the room and they'll get the assistance, but the patients are supposed to stay in the room. So all they're doing is literally just monitoring in the hallway. That's it, right? Also, unfortunately, we had some positions for mortuaries, right? Hospitals needed to find people to transport deceased. And that was, I guess, like a real, I don't know, it was very surreal because it was just like, wow, it's come to this now, you know what I mean? And so we saw that, and that was, it was hard to post that. And then also another position in regards to notifying next of kin, right? So an employer was looking for individuals that had some kind of science or criminal justice background to do, a little bit of investigating to notify next of kin of individuals who were terminally ill or who have deceased. So, the positions have kind of been evolving. And then, of course, the other essential positions, such as anything related to healthcare, right? HHA, home health aides, right? Direct care, nursing, any of that, right? Desperate need for those, as well as a lot of grocery stores are hiring for stock, cashier, delivery, all of those things, warehouse. So a lot of the positions that typically wouldn't be so, essential, right, now have kind of catapult, even food service, right? There was a job for, I think they needed to fill like somewhere around 100 positions, and the guy was able to fill it off of Facebook. You know what I mean? And I was amazed, right? But at the same time, this gives an opportunity for those who otherwise did not have that opportunity.
Are you seeing that the qualifications are changing? Are they are there less requirements to get these jobs, or are they the same as they were before?
Yes, we're starting to see that, where some positions may ask for a high school diploma, they are not, right? Some positions may have previously needed you to have your security guard license registered by the state. And as a result of the need, As long as you have either experience or you have your 8-hour, 16-hour training, you're good to go. You know what I mean? So we're seeing some modifications in some of the requirements of these jobs. They're not going too far, but we've seen a little bit.
Reggie, I know that you've been getting resumes and helping people fix their resumes. How many resumes are you getting, and how many people have you helped find jobs?
So, it's been over 300. I think we're at like 360. And roughly about 60 to 70 people have found jobs through those connections, right? One thing that I'm noticing is that, a lot of individuals will submit their resume and their resume needs work. And creating resumes, revising resumes is a lot of work for an individual to do. So I don't do that part. But that has been kind of the barrier that I've been experiencing with the people that are looking for employment.
Are some of the jobs not even requiring resumes? They just go online and fill out applications?
So what I've seen is that the applications are kind of, they're there, like they can go on Facebook, create a job, do the application, go online. But typically they still request a resume, because you have to remember a lot of these employers are staffing agencies that are hiring for these hospitals. And what we've seen is that there have been a huge amount of staffing agencies, and they're all recruiting for pretty much the same positions. And so they always need a resume. And then even the staffing agencies had to meet people where they were and hire interns to be able to fix up resumes, because if they experience a good candidate, they know that is qualified for the position, they still need to make sure that that resume reflects that as well. So,
in addition to the two of you, how many other administrators are to help out?
Okay, so we have six other people. Yulia, she's a friend from high school. She is an administrator, and then the rest of them, Andrea, Diana, Genesis, Jeanette, and Chi-Chi, they're the moderators. So, as admins, we have a little bit more leeway of changing things in the group, and they just pretty much, approve the post and accept the members into the group.
How many hours per week do you guys dedicate to this? Because, this is amazing how you're helping people. You have day jobs and you're just doing this out of the goodness of your heart. It's really, it's amazing.
What I do is, if I'm leaving work or leaving home, wherever I am, I'm warming up my car, I'll try to run into and see how many pending members we have, because we have to go through each member. Some people will, they'll create a Facebook page today, and then, when you go over to the side where you approve the post, it's a bunch of spam. So if someone if they answer the questionnaires, because then I know they're not like a robot. If they don't answer the question, they have to have at least a year. And Facebook tells us, okay, this person has joined Facebook April 25th, 2018. So I'm like, okay, they had 2 years on Facebook, or they, created a new page or whatever, and I approved them there. So it's just a matter of, I could be walking to the store and I just look at the group and I'll see somebody post saying, hey, do you know of any retail stores that are opening or whatever? And I left this job, I want to start something else, and I'll just approve that right then and there.
You're both doing it every day, sounds like.
Yeah. I don't do it every day, I'm going to be honest, but I'm going to say probably a good 4 or 5 times a week.
No, that's a lot in terms of you have children and work and everything.
Yeah.
So
you both moderators help us a lot.
You both have dedicated your life to civil services. Jessica, you work for the Department of Corrections, and Reggie, you served in the Army for 7 years in country and overseas. You were deployed in Iraq for Operation Iraqi Freedom. Reggie first. What lessons have you learned from these experiences, and how have they helped you with what you're doing today and helping people out?
I think, serving in the military, one of the lessons that I learned from that experience is that planning and preparation is key, right? To just preparing yourself for any crisis that may occur, any event, and just always being ready. And so I think that really has helped me, especially with my current role now, is being able to react or respond in times of crisis, right? And know what to do, right? And then do it and not apologize for doing that, right? Not everybody is able to respond to crisis the way that they need to, right? You may have managers, you may have directors who are going through certain things as well, and they are not able to transition, right? And so I think those skills have really allowed me to be able to transition through this whole crisis period much quicker and be able to adapt and really kind of lead through it.
And I've just been one of those people who can work under pressure. Working for the city, you run into people of all races, whatever, it doesn't matter. And I feel like it taught me not to judge at all. Like, I was already raised like that, but actually seeing what people go through, they can be from teenagers to senior citizens. Everybody needs help. Everybody. Everyone has an issue. Everyone needs assistance with something. And you never know what somebody is going through. Not everybody is as, open and or receptive, to getting help, but everyone needs it. So it's, and it's also taught me to practice patience, because some people are frustrated and, when it's not your fault, it's not your fault. I'm here to help you. I'm here to assist you. Let me know what you need and we can, go forward. So, it's customer service is key. Just living in New York City, period. You have to have patience.
Jessica, I bet you, I'm thinking this, and I bet you some of the listeners are thinking this. You work for the Department of Corrections, and you are seeing inmates all the time. How is the virus affecting them, and how are they handling it? Okay. And it must be scary.
Right. Well, let me just first and foremost say, the Department of Correction of all ranks, they are the unsung heroes, because they are, you got to think about it. These officers are in housing areas. Some housing areas don't have windows. They don't see the light of day. Some of these officers are working with these inmates countless hours. And, I just want to give a big shout out to staff, because definitely everyone who's working in health, they are definitely our frontline heroes. But, being that you cannot see inside of Rikers Island, no one really knows what's going on. So we're often forgotten about. I'm a civilian, so I don't have to see inmates often. The only time I do see them is when I go into the clinic, maybe to pick up some paperwork for a report, or if I go, to certain areas where they are. It's put in a lot. It's been day by day. There's been policies that's been changing every day because we didn't know it was going to get this serious. So at this point right now, every staff member has to wear a mask if they're going in anywhere in the building. Every staff member has to wear a mask. Every inmate has to wear a mask. And say we have a count, which is about 30 inmates in a house. So now we have 10 inmates that come out at a time, that come out into the day room. So we don't have all 30 inmates out on the floor in the day room. If an inmate is tested positive, then I believe they started testing every inmate in the house. or any inmate who's had symptoms. And then you do have those inmates that kind of, because they're people too, they freak out, they want to get tested, they want to go to the clinic. So they, the medical side of correction, we work alongside with health hospitals. So they have a hotline. Inmates have a hotline that they can call. It's free, and they can just tell them what symptoms that they have, and then my office an email saying, okay, this inmate needs to be seen. He's asymptomatic. He may, have it. We need to bring him down to the clinic and test him, and the officer will come and escort them in gloves and a mask. So everyone's wearing a mask.
Coronavirus is in the correction facility? Like, there are people who have been sick. Is it spreading? Absolutely. Or you think they're containing it?
It's now being contained. The first 2 weeks, I want to say the week of March 22nd is when we saw a lot of staff members go out, because of staff and inmates. So it got really bad. At that time, being that I'm a civilian, I had the option of leaving, and I left, as a precaution to my own family. And what I do I can't work from home because I need to be hands-on. But what they were doing is keeping, keeping the inmates in their houses, because, some inmates, they get services. All inmates get services. They get more library. They get to go outside. So I believe they kept them in for a few days just to contain it, to, keep the numbers down. And then once that happened, they opened the services back up. And with staff, if you have any type of symptoms, and people were still coming to work, because we have officers that are still on probation, and, or some officers who are older, who are stubborn, like, I just have a little cough, it's nothing. And then it became something. So then they closed down the visits, and they turned the visit area into a virtual visit area. So in the other section of the visits, staff members have to go in. So each staff member, including myself, before we enter the building, we have to go over to the visit area. They have to check our temperature, and we fill out a survey, letting them know we have no symptoms. So there was even a time last week, my temperature was 101. And I'm like, whoa, because if it's anything above 100, you automatically have a fever. They don't want you in the building. So I was like, wait, I wear earmuffs because I'm weird. Well, I'm not weird. I'm weird. But in the morning, because you're literally on an island, so it's cold. And some people, my ears get cold quick, so I always have on my earmuffs. And I think that's what raised my temperature. And I was driving with the windows up. So the officer there who was doing the screening, he was like, let's just wait a few minutes for your temperature to go down. And indeed, in about 5 minutes, it went down. Because I'm like, I feel fine. What are you talking about? So,
well, I'm glad to hear that they're checking everybody and that the inmates have masks. That's great.
Yeah.
So
they're definitely staff members. It's a lot. I'm telling you, you have to be a certain kind of crazy to work there. People really don't understand, because you cannot see what goes on there. Like I said, we're often forgotten about, but they really, really work hard. They've really been working hard, especially with short staff. Like, they have statistics that go out every day letting us know, okay, 185 staff members have been affected. We've lost 9 employees, civilians, investigators. One of my investigators, that, he was annoying to me, but, we developed a good working relationship, and he was one of the first employees to die. It broke my heart. So it's affecting everybody everywhere, Yeah.
So, Reggie, you and I met in California, and we both attended a retreat called the Flow Genome Project, run by Jamie Wheel, the author of Stealing Fire. Long story short, the program is designed to help people achieve maximum performance through unique understanding of technology, science, basically to get into flow. How has this retreat impacted your life since enrolling the program? How are you using this?
Well, I think, considering that the training is still going on right now throughout this crisis, there's no let up, you know what I mean? And it forced me to continue to commit to a process, right? Of tasks that we have to accomplish. Jamie is always recommending to keep moving, drink lots of water, make sure you get enough sleep, all these things. And so, immediately, I kind of foresaw that we would end up going into this kind of remote, kind of work from home. And so I got a weekly planner, and what I did was I started just outlining everything that I would do for each day of the week. And that included a lot of exercising, how many glasses of water I would drink, all that stuff, what books I was going to read. And so that really helped me transition through this process and, maintain some kind of sense of sanity, you know what I mean? So also, our tasks, they haven't let up. We're continuously having our group calls and being supportive of one another and hearing other people's stories, I think is extremely valuable as well. And as of recently, yesterday, with my company, we had a manager's Zoom happy hour, right? Where we just wanted to check in with the other managers and just see how everybody was doing. And so in this group, we kind of created this vulnerability-based trust where we went around and we talked about, how it was for us throughout the transition, what we went through. And it was really good to hear everybody speak and contribute. And it just really created a stronger, deeper connection with our colleagues as a result. So the Flow Genome Project has really helped out a lot throughout this process, especially in getting me to transition and be a supportive element to my community.
Well, it's amazing what you guys are both doing for everybody with getting jobs from your day job to this Facebook page. And I bet you there's a lot of people out there who really appreciate what you're doing. And I thank you guys. And I will post in the show notes how people can get onto the Facebook page and find some jobs. And hopefully soon we will be out of our houses and back into work for everybody. But till now, till then, be safe and be healthy. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, same to you. Take care.
Thank you, Reggie Bryant and Jessica Johnson, for taking the time to speak with me. And thank you on behalf of all the New Yorkers who you are helping to find work in this time. You are both amazing. To find out more about Reggie Bryant and Jessica Johnson and jobs in NYC, see the show notes or head over to my website, eatwelltraveloften.net. You can reach me via email, melissa@eatwelltraveloften.net, or on Facebook or Instagram, Eat Well Travel Often Podcast. Be well, eat well, and please stay at home.